Monster Hunter Generations is a really difficult game, with a lot of complex mechanics that aren't explained very well by in-game tutorials. This video is designed for people who have never played a Monster Hunter game before, who are looking for a way to break into Monster Hunter Generations. I won't be able to cover everything in this one video, but by the end of it, you should know everything you need to know to start going out on hunts of your own. The loop of Monster Hunter Generations involves preparing for a hunt by eating food and making sure you'll have the items you need for the quest at hand, equipping the most powerful loadout of weapons and armor you have, then going out on a mission and collecting resources in the field. And depending on the quest parameters, you'll usually take on a boss monster, which also drops rare resources. You can spend those resources upgrading or crafting new equipment, and then the loop begins again. Before starting out, you'll need to pick a weapon type to go into the field with. Monster Hunter Generations starts you off with a sword and shield, one of the 14 weapon categories available in the game. But by running into your home and accessing your equipment box, you can switch to any of these categories' starter weapons from the start of the game. Here's an extremely quick rundown on those weapon types. The Greatsword is a very slow but extremely powerful melee weapon capable of dishing out charging attacks and blocking enemies' attacks with the broadside of the blade. The Longsword is a faster, more elegant, but less powerful blade that's capable of boosting its wielder's damage output if you can execute certain combos. The Sword and Shield gives you tremendous defensive capabilities with less burst damage than a larger weapon, and can be modified by applying oils in the field. The Dual Blades are the fastest weapons in the game, allowing you to get into an enemy's face, execute a flurry of attacks, and then get out of harm's way. Hammers are extremely slow, short-range melee weapons that can execute powerful charging attacks to more easily KO enemies. The Hunting Horn also specializes in blunt, heavy KO damage, but more importantly allows you to play music to boost the stats of your teammates. The Lance is a long-range weapon with great defense, allowing you to keep your distance and execute powerful stabbing combos on bosses, and blocking any attacks that come your way. The Gun Lance is, quite simply, the lance with a big fiery gun on it, adding a bunch of short-range blasting attacks and a heat meter that you can manage to boost your total damage. The Switch Axe allows you to charge up a gauge by delivering huge hits while in axe mode, then switch over to the more powerful sword mode to temporarily hit even harder. The Insect Glaive is a fairly complex staff that delivers quick combos, can launch you into the air to mount monsters, and use a bug companion called a Kinsect to boost certain stats. The Charge Blade is similar to the Switch Axe and can be charged in a defensive sword and shield mode until it transforms into a powerful two-handed axe. The Light Bowgun is a gunner weapon designed for quick, rapid-fire long-range attacks, and it's modifiable with different ammo types. The Heavy Bowgun is its more powerful counterpart, but it doesn't allow its wielder to run while the weapon is drawn. And the bow is the final gunner weapon in the game. It offers great mobility, the ability to charge up powerful shots, and apply coatings to your arrows in order to make them more powerful or more debilitating, depending on which coating you use. The very first quests available to you in Monster Hunter Generations are all tutorials. They run you through the mechanics of the game while tossing you into some simple trial hunts. Also available are weapon tutorials, which give you a bit of info on each weapon before tossing you into an arena with a starting monster. That's a great way to give each weapon a try, as those quests automatically outfit you with the weapon you need upon launching the mission. One more thing you need to decide after choosing your weapon is your hunting style and hunter arts, both of which are new mechanics introduced in Monster Hunter Generations. Hunting styles determine how much of a moveset your weapon will use and what your playstyle in the field will be. Hunter arts are powerful abilities that charge up as you deal damage to enemies and can be executed with prompts on the touchscreen. Styles break down into 4 categories. Guild lets you use the full moveset of each weapon and take 2 Hunter Arts into battle. Striker has a slightly reduced moveset, but you can take 3 Hunter Arts into battle, and all those arts charge up much faster. Aerial Style has a reduced moveset and only 1 Hunter Art, but it gives its user more mobility and an easier time toppling and mounting monsters. Adept has just 1 Hunter Art, but it focuses on dodging attacks at the last second. It's built more for skilled players who know their monsters and can predict their attacks. That's a total of 56 different builds between the 14 weapons and 4 styles for each one. There are tons of resources online to teach you the specifics of each one, which I'll link to at the end of this video. But my recommendation for a complete newcomer to Monster Hunter is the Longsword using the Striker style. It's a simple, forgiving, and fairly powerful build that should help you get your feet wet while dishing out some huge damage and supporting yourself with the frequent use of hunting arts. Using this build, you can perform an infinite combo by pressing X, X, and then A, and then repeating. Doing so will charge your spirit gauge quickly. Once it's full, you can use spirit attacks by pressing R. By chaining 4 of these spirit attacks together and hitting an enemy with the 4th, you'll increase your overall damage as represented by the changing color of the spirit gauge. You can boost that color 3 times, first to white, which gives a 5% damage boost, then to yellow, which gives a 10% boost, and finally to red, which gives a massive 20% boost. Sakura Slash, one of your starting arts, will also boost that gauge 1 level if you can hit an enemy with it. Using this build, you'll be able to keep that gauge in the red throughout a fight, dishing out powerful combos as you go. Another good starting option is the Prowler, another new feature in Generations. In Monster Hunter, when playing solo or with just one other player online, you can take palicos into the field with you. These cat-like AI companions can be customized with different skills, passive abilities, and their own equipment. In Prowler mode, you can inhabit one of your palicos and take on specialized missions. Prowlers don't use items, which reduces the prep work needed for quests, and can get KO'd 3 times before fainting and having to return to camp. They essentially have infinite stamina meters, and they don't need special tools to harvest resources. They are, in general, a simplified way to play Monster Hunter. You can switch to Prowler mode after you've recruited your first few palicos at your palico board in your home. Once you've chosen your build, your first goal should be to try and build new equipment using resources you gather in the field and from hunting monsters. Like I said before, character leveling isn't really a thing in Monster Hunter. Instead, all your upgrades come from building new weapons and armors. You can do that at the smithy, who can build or upgrade any piece of equipment for you after you've discovered at least one of the resources that go into the crafting of that equipment. When crafting new gear, you can see the requirements in the bottom left window. The stats of that gear are up here. Here's a quick rundown on weapon stats. This is your weapon's raw damage, and if the weapon deals elemental damage, that's tracked over here. For blades, you have a sharpness meter. The sharper the weapon, the more damage it can do, and the smaller chance there is of your attacks being deflected by sturdier monsters. Some weapons can either boost or subtract from your affinity, which is your chance to deal a critical hit. And slots are where you put skill-boosting decorations. More on that later. Some weapons have even more info, like the types of shots that bows can charge up to, but again, there's too much to break down there in just a single video. Armor really has just 2 things that beginners should pay attention to. The first is its defense rating, which will start low but is easily increased by upgrading that equipment. The second is the armor skills it carries, which is really the bread and butter of character upgrades in Monster Hunter Generations. Here's how it works. Each skill has certain breakpoints, where once you've equipped enough armor with enough points in a given skill, your character will begin benefiting from that skill. Most skills activate at 10 points, and some offer enhanced versions of those skills at 15 and 20 points. On the inverse, armor can also reduce certain skills, and at negative 10 points, you usually get a debuff related to that skill. As you can see, if I have all 5 pieces of the alloy mail set equipped, I get 10 points in Sharpener. 10 points is exactly the breakpoint I need in order to unlock that skill, Speed Sharpener, which decreases the amount of time that it takes for me to sharpen my weapon while in the field. Now, say I was missing a piece of this armor and I was only able to get up to 9 points in the Sharpener skill. I could make up the points that I need by applying a decoration to the slots in my armor. This decoration is fairly easy to craft, and it would give me 2 points of Sharpener, which would be more than enough to unlock the next breakpoint. There are dozens of armor skills in the game, and not all of them are as useful as others. A very popular strategy when starting out in a Monster Hunter game is to get armor that boosts the attack skill, which provides a small damage boost at 10 points, a medium boost at 15, and a large boost at 20 points. You can get there with the Jaggy or Kutku set, both of which use resources gathered from fairly early monsters in the game. The Bull Jerome set also has attack points on it, and by mixing and matching those, you can easily get to the 10 attack breakpoint, and possibly, with the addition of decorations, to the 15 or even the 20 point breakpoint. Other useful armor skills for the early game are Health and Defense, which boosts their respective stats, Hearing, which makes you immune to monsters' roars, which can temporarily stun you, Sharpness, which keeps your weapon sharper for longer, and, for certain charging weapon types, Fast Charge, which grants Focus, an ability that allows you to charge your attacks even faster. There are 2 sets of quests in Monster Hunter Generations. Village quests, which you can kick off from any of the 4 major villages in the game and are designed as single-player content, and Hunter's Hub quests, which can be played either solo or in a group of 4 hunters. These quests break down into 5 categories. Most are hunting quests, which task you with slaying or capturing a specific target monster. There are also capture quests, in which you have to capture, not kill, the specified monster. There are 2 tutorial quests that break down the capturing process that you should absolutely run before taking a capture quest on. Slaying quests task you with cleaning out a certain number of smaller non-boss monsters in a given area. Gathering quests have you collect a certain type of resource and return it to your encampment at the start of the mission. Prowler quests have very specific requirements and must be played in Prowler mode. A lot of quests also have sub-quests attached to them. Completing the sub-quest while out on a mission grants several benefits. First off, you get extra rewards upon completing the mission. You also get more supplies delivered to your camp, which can help you out in a pinch if you're running low on healing items or other tools when you're halfway through a quest. Also, you can end the mission prematurely by choosing End via Sub-quest in your main menu, and you'll be able to keep everything you gathered so far. It doesn't mark the mission as complete, but if you're in over your head, it allows you to keep all of the items you've gathered without losing your progress you'd made up to that point. Quests also have time limits, but these are fairly trivial early on. You shouldn't worry too much about running out of time. In order to unlock a new tier of quests, which in turn makes more monsters available to fight and more equipment to unlock at the smithy, you have to complete what are called key quests from your current tier. This system is really unintuitive, so if you want to rush up the ranks, you'll need to search for complete lists of key quests online. After completing the right quest, you'll unlock an urgent quest, which upon its completion will open up the next tier. If you want to blow past Village Rank 1, the quests you need to complete are Find the Ferns, a Fungal Hunt, Wipeout, and another Pack Attack. To move on from the first rank of Guildhall quests, do the following: Tackling the Tetsukabra, Lost in the Jurassic Frontier, Local Threat, Snow with occasional Lagombi, and Royal Spit Take. One thing you should do before going out on your first quest is visit the village market and spend your money on resource gathering tools like pickaxes and bug nets. You can buy a bunch of these and store them in your item box, which is accessible in your house or at this box by the village exit, and then take them with you whenever you're about to go out on a quest. There's two things you should always do before going out on a quest. Make this your routine. First, eat some food at the bistro. Each meal boosts health and stamina certain amounts and unlocks certain skills that will benefit you during the mission. Try to pick meals with the little chef's hat icon next to them, which offer further increases to skills and stats. These meals carry a fairly trivial price, so you should absolutely eat one before each and every mission. The second thing you should do is make sure you have the items you need for a given mission. At the item box next to the village exit, you can grab whatever you need from your supply stash. I recommend taking some potions and mega potions, some pickaxes and bug nets, a paintball or two, and if you're using a melee weapon, a couple whetstones, or some ammo or coatings if you're a gunner. Once you have a set you like, make sure you register them as an item set so you can resupply more quickly the next time around. If you don't have the items you need, you can probably combine the right items to get them. At the item box, you can use the combo list to craft pretty much every item in the game. The first entry here is a potion, which uses herbs and blue mushrooms, really common resources you can gather from the field. With that potion in hand, you can then combine it with honey to make a mega potion, which restores even more health, making it a more useful item to have when you're nearly dead in a fast-paced battle. Every time you craft something new in the combo list, it adds its description to the list, so make sure to experiment. If your attempts at combining are failing, you can pick up a book of combos at the market to increase your chances of success. Once you're in a mission, make sure to run to this box first and foremost to grab the quest supply items. These are really useful and can't be taken with you once you complete the mission, so feel free to use them without reservation. There's a Palico character called the Veggie Elder who will also give you a free item, so if you can see them, make sure you talk to him. There are lots of different places to gather resources in the field. Tall plants like this usually have herbs and other leafy greens to harvest, while shorter ones usually contain berries. Mushrooms can be found in darker areas like caves and shaded forests. Bugs may not seem like they'd be useful, but are found in tons of gear requirements and ammo recipes, and the same goes for fish. In the early game, you should be gathering every mining node you come across because you'll need a stockpile of ore to help craft your beginner gear. Smaller monsters are also worth slaying and harvesting because a lot of their materials are used in starter gear as well. It's hard to give general boss fighting tips without knowing the weapon you're using or the boss you're facing, but there are a few general rules to keep in mind. First off, make it a habit to throw a paintball at the monster before you start fighting. These last for a while and they mark the boss on your map, which is going to be useful because at some point, once you've done enough damage, that monster is almost certainly going to run away. You don't want to spend the next 5 minutes running around looking for them, so keep a paintball up on them at all times. Try to keep your health above 50% if you can. Monsters hit hard in this game and can hit you with a combo of attacks that can stun you and leave you open for a fatal strike that you just can't avoid. Don't get too greedy with your attacks either. You absolutely have to dodge and block judiciously in this game and only launch your attacks when there's a good opportunity to do so. Sometimes though, offense is the best defense. You can stagger enemies with heavy combos of attacks or KO them with certain weapons. By running off a ledge, you can jump in the air and then from there execute a jumping attack, something made much easier with the aerial style. There's a chance that after the jumping attack, the enemy will be toppled. If that happens, run to it as fast as possible and you'll start mounting it. While mounting, you want to tap X as fast as possible, moving your green bar up the gauge as you go. If it reaches the top, you'll knock down the monster for a long time, giving you ample opportunity to launch a bunch of attacks against it. Watch out though, if the gauge turns red, hold down R as quickly as possible to steady yourself as the monster tries to shake you off, and start hitting X once again once the gauge turns green. Once you've lowered their health past a certain point, monsters will enrage. This process can last a while, so you can't completely back off without doing damage to them, but be a bit more cautious about moving in for an attack. While enraged, monsters can move and attack much faster, and their patterns will change significantly. Don't let yourself get caught unaware. Once the monster starts limping and panting, that means they're nearing death. It also probably means they're about to run away and find a place to rest and recover health. Their attacks at this time will be slow and weak, so take this opportunity to be aggressive and try to finish them off. Once you do take them down, Be sure to harvest their resources. Most monsters can be harvested 3 times, though some larger monsters can give more resources than that. It's possible with targeted attacks to break off parts of monsters while you're fighting them. Make sure you gather up those pieces off the ground before the mission timer ends. Once it does, you'll see your horde from the mission, getting rewards for completing the main and subquests, rewards for the parts you broke off, and the loot that was gathered by your palicos, assuming you took any into the mission with you. Once you're back in town, you can check and see if you unlocked any new gear at the smithy, and if you have enough resources, you could build or upgrade a piece of equipment. And that's everything you need to know to get started playing Monster Hunter Generations. There's a lot more to the game that I can't cover in a single video, but there are a ton of resources online to help you master the fundamentals before moving on to harder hunts. I recommend watching specific tutorials for a weapon category that you favor, as most have mechanics that are really poorly explained by the in-game tutorials. The YouTube channels for RX Gaming and Gaijin Hunter have really great resources for mastering each and every weapon in the game, as well as for learning the ropes for other systems that just aren't explained very well in-game. Monster Hunter Generations takes a bit of work to get into, but if you can put in the effort, you'll find yourself taking on the game's biggest hunts in no time. Good luck!